Hi, it's Awaken with Joy today, and I am going to try to help you today understand what it means to really have Jesus in you, like to really have that, because I don't think religion does a very good job at all of explaining this. Actually, I don't think they do it very well at all. Like, they suck at it. And so I need explanation, and I know that there are other people out there that do, because we don't trust religion anymore. They have caused division, started wars, raped, murdered, killed, all in the name of God and Jesus. And they have poisoned our food, poisoned our water, done all of these evil things. And I mean, literally, they are eating children now and making red shoes out of them. And, so you're going to sit here and try to tell me, as a religious system, organization, to believe what you say, obey God, or, hell for you? I'm just going to put it out here that in the Bible, from what I read, Jesus did not sit down with sinners and tell them they were going to hell. He sat down with the religious leaders and told them they were the ones that were going to hell because of what they did to the sinners. And they're the ones that were called hypocrites and vipers, not the sinners, not that I could find. So they were the ones that were called. I mean, he said that prostitutes and tax collectors were going to go to heaven before the religious leaders. I'm just going to put that out there, okay? Like, you can take it however you want, but this is how I'm reading the Bible. Like, I don't know why y'all are sitting in church crushing the sinners and telling them they're all going to hell, when that's not what I'm reading. Okay, Jesus sat and ate with sinners. There's a reason. I'm going to try to help you understand that today. And but the religious leaders, the Pharisees and Sadducees, were who Jesus came to kick their ass, not the sinners. I'm going to stop for a minute, because I'm getting pissed off. I have to take breaks once in a while, because, this stuff gets me fired up. I'm going to try to explain it, but I realize I sometimes sound like a rambling Wookiee sometimes, because that's why I started writing books, because when I write, it sounds a little more clear. And my sister's so funny. She's like, Joy, sometimes people just don't understand you, because I've got like 15 timelines going in my head, and somebody could be literally talking right here, and if I'm on a different timeline, they could scream joy to my face, and if I'm in this timeline or one of the ones going, I will not even hear them. So when you have a brain like that, sometimes when you try to speak, it just sounds like you can't even get the words out. So it's better for me to write. My sister was like, Joy, people are going to understand you now when they read your book, because you don't sound so, crazy and out there. So, I'm going to do my best to explain it. And I'm either going to connect dots for you, though, depending on your level of awareness, you're going to understand what I have to say. But if you are not even on the ladder of awareness and raising your consciousness, you're going to see this as just batshit crazy and have absolutely no idea what I'm saying, which is fine. Both are okay, because this whole awakening process is like an onion. You just gotta peel off the layers, and some layers you're not gonna understand. You just have to keep going. So anyway, I'm going to try to explain to you what dots I've connected about what it really truly means to have Jesus within you and find him and know him and talk with him. And there are different layers to this, and it does get confusing, and this is just what I picked up. And the first thing you need to know, there's multiple meanings to everything. Like I was talking about, this whole matrix is so coded, like gematria and cryptography. Like there is just mathematics, science, spiritual. There's so many layers to all this, but these are the three things that I have seen that are really, so that you found Jesus, right? So the first one is Jesus is a representation of the sun. That's why it's S-U-N-S-O-N. So that's why he's depicted with the sun behind him all the time. So the sun provides light and information. Knowledge comes in, right? My people will perish for lack of knowledge. So that's an aspect of Jesus, is the light and information coming in. The sun's brighter right now. It's really affecting us. It's upgrading our systems right now. So that's one way that Jesus is entering us, okay? and we're all getting it right now, so you can't get away from it. So if you hate Jesus, too bad, because if you're in this matrixy planet, God put you here, you can't avoid it. Okay, this one is going to be a little out there for people, but the Jesus without, do I think Jesus was a real man? Yes, absolutely, 100%. So I believe Jesus was walking around on this earth as a man. I believe that him and Mary Magdalene had a thing. They probably had kids. And when you start diving into that, it's so amazing. It's so cool. So what you have to understand, that energy does not die. Energy does not die. So some old souls have been here a very long time. So guess who's walking around this earth? Yeah. Jesus is already here. Jesus is already here with this whole harem of Bible characters. Yeah, they're here because energy doesn't die. Our consciousness does not die. So the older you are, the souls, they're all walking around here. They're all here already. They're reincarnating. They're just coming in different avatars. These are just meat suits. Their consciousness is already here. That's why it says, what if, Jesus was one of us? Or that's why they're telling you, through the songs and the music and everything, like all the movies they put in, they're telling you this stuff. So Jesus and all his gang has already been here lifetime after lifetime, and they're here to try to help us awaken again and ascend and do all this stuff again. So do I believe Jesus was here in the physical? Absolutely. And I think he is still here. And when you raise your consciousness high enough, Elon's telling you, he tells you can transfer consciousness. They also tell you this through the movies too. So when you raise your consciousness high enough, you literally body hop. That's going to be out there but watch the movie Nefarious. Demons do it. So demons aren't even as powerful as God and his whole, army. So if demons can do it, just think about what God and Jesus and all the Bible characters can do, okay? So if demons can enter you, if demons can transfer consciousness, so can God and so can Jesus. That's why so many people think they're God or Jesus, because they're tapping into a higher consciousness that's connecting, but they don't know how to deal with it because we haven't been taught it. And if you don't have your stupid religion is not teaching it. So if these people aren't knowing this and they're not telling you, it's going to be hard for them to understand. So that's another one. So the third finding Jesus is Jesus within you. We have the whole Jesus story within us, and we can literally, there's a Christos oil that they call it. Actually, your pituitary and your pineal gland make it. It descends down into your sacral area. It stays for 3 days, and then through different practices, breath work, sexual practices, that's why Kundalini gets a little weird, and people just start free love, all that, because they're trying to activate their Kundalini, which is the serpent thing around the medical staff thing, the logo. I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, so they know all this. The cult leaders, or whatever you want to call it, the evil ones that have stole this information, that haven't told us, that have kept it hidden, they all know this, so they hide it from us and then they mock us. But so the whole Jesus story is within us. So when that secretion goes up and then it activates your pineal gland, voila, you can start tapping into that God consciousness that religion doesn't teach you. You're able to do it. And they tell you the Holy Spirit, and some people do it, and with the prayer and all that stuff, it also can activate it, but they don't give you any explanation. And then it repels people from the church, because people are like, no, you're killing people and you're doing all this evil stuff, and then you're telling us to obey. So as much as it's pulling in, religion is pulling in, it's repelling also the people. So if you've been disobedient to religion for all these years, good. So if you've been disobedient to religion, good. We're going to need you, because in this process that we're doing right now of deconstructing religion, so we can break down those control systems so more people can find Jesus, because there's so many people hurting right now in church, and they keep cramming down their throat, find Jesus or else, and they're still hurting, and they don't know why. It's because of the control system they're in. There are people in church that find Jesus all the time, and are amazing people, and they've tapped in, and and they know, but for the most part, they don't really understand. And so there's so many people that are hurting in churches right now. That's why they keep going. That's why they keep going. And I go back to that statement that, you know, when you're healed, when you find Jesus, fully find him, you don't even need to go to church. You'll be out in the streets. That's why my friend is telling me, you know, he said forever and ever, you find Jesus in the streets. You don't always find it, and you find Jesus in the streets more than you do in the churches. And I'm like, what does that mean? That really intrigued me. So that's why I went to, that's a really reason the true reason that I went to Phoenix is because I was like, what does he mean by that? And he was out running the streets of, you know, Scottsdale and doing all this stuff and helping people and just doing his ministry in the streets. And I'm like, I want to know more about that, because the churches have always creeped me out, and there's something about them that I don't like. So I'm going to go check you out, see what's going on in those streets you're talking about. So I'll come back to that. But when you start finding Jesus within and healing yourself, it means you're taking the masculine and feminine energy that they have tried to disrupt through all of the food poison, all the stuff and they have tried to disrupt that, because when you disrupt those two things that you have within, it throws everything off balance. So the right brain or spiritual, you know, the nurturing brain, the divine, the feminine brain, it's your right brain, it's your nurturing, your love, and your, you know, this is what, that's why they relate it more to God, because it's caring and, you know, whatever. And your left brain is more like the logic, think through, you know. So to try to balance those, then you become your own nurturer and protector. You know, a lot of us women don't feel safe because the outside would be your men, you know, the men aren't protecting us like they used to. So we none of, like, we're all of us emasculating women out here. It's only because we don't feel safe. We don't feel safe with men anymore, because the balance has been so far thrown off that here we are trying to protect ourselves, so we're overusing our masculine energy, and then we become bitches. Christian Karens, I'm one of them. Don't take offense to it, Christian Karens, because I'm literally one of them. I'm just owning it. So anyway, when you have those balance, when it's thrown off like that, then it's hard to be a confident, strong person. It's hard to be your true self, because you're constantly overusing your masculine and feminine energy. You know, you're whining. Victim mode is like, I don't have anybody to care for me, I'm scared. You're not protecting yourself. And then when you know, somebody comes in to try to, you know, trap you or keep you held down, or then you overuse your masculine. And then, do you see how this is happening? So when you fully find Jesus, when you balance those energies, then you start just becoming a strong, confident, not overpowering. You start walking in your purpose. Everybody here has a purpose, so you start finding that. So it has to do, and then when you activate, you know, the chakras and align the energy center. I went out and I worked with a lady, I mean, and she didn't even really know the terminology. So, but when she was teaching me, she just kept saying, that energy, that energy. You know, she's from Slovenia or something. So she had an accent, so I just love her. But, you know, she just kept saying the energy, but she didn't, you know, my nurse brain is going, but why? But I don't understand what you're saying, the energy. But it was working. Whatever she was doing was working. So I'm like, okay, my energy is a little on in now. So anyway, I started, when I got back here, I started putting the pieces together from a nursing standpoint and that. And I'm like, you have to align the chakras. You have to get the energy flowing, all of the things. And then you start healing, you start balancing, and then you start retraining your brain, your belief systems. And my niece helped me with that. I mean, she did so much energy work and balance techniques and stuff that she has that she would share with people. So that helped. And, so when you start doing that, then you heal. And what it really means to be, what it truly means to have Jesus within, and you walk in your authentic, true self, no matter how quirky, no matter how weird, no matter how OCD or crazy you look, you are you. You are who God put you in this system, this, you know, he came here and he put us in here, this world, to do it. But then the lower beings, you know, dark side, whatever you want to call it. Well, they corrupted everything. Okay, so God let us play on this playground, and then the bullies took over, and now we're kicking the bullies off the playground, and we're taking it back. Okay, that's the whole God game here. And then we're going like, okay, we'll obey you now, God. Now we're gonna do this. And we're not God as individuals, but together everything is God. So together we are God. So that's why we are doing this game individually in our own little bubble, but then also collectively as a whole. And I kind of explained that better in my book, but anyway, like I said, I sometimes don't explain things well when I'm talking, but I do seem to do better when I write. So whatever. But you either listen to me or don't. Like I said, I don't care anymore. So to get back to why you find Jesus in the streets, because it took me a long time to figure out what he was meaning by this. Okay, so when you're in the churches, they're telling you, don't sin, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. So you got a whole church full of people that are afraid to do anything. They're afraid to be their true selves because they don't want to mess up. They don't want to get it wrong. They don't want to do anything that's going to, make them not go to hell, right? So they're all scared of living. And they're scared of, you didn't read the Bible enough. You didn't do this. You didn't do that, So there's so many control rules that you're not able to be like, this is me. This is who I am. I'm going to say my friend, Matt Maddox, I laugh because, okay, I'm just going to go back and tell you, this is how my brain works. So I feel like I have to do a little bit of explaining for this to help you understand. So in the beginning of all of this, 6 years ago, we were told that God is going to put people in place that look pretty crazy to test our hearts, test our hearts. That's what they said. Because in the new world that we're going to be creating, heaven on earth, they can't have assholes running the joint, right? No, you don't want to be an asshole. So God is going to put people, crazy ass looking people, in front of you, and they're going to do weird shit to test to see how you react to them, right? Are you going to accept them for who they are, or are you going to repel them? So if they're acting absolutely insane or doing things that you think that you've been trained not to see through, if you can't see their hearts, if you can't see the person behind all the antics that they're throwing around, if you can't see their soul, then, like I said, there are people out here testing their hearts, and then those truthers said that plain as day. So I remember that, and when I met Matt Maddox, I'm like, good Lord, he has all the things going on. So, but when he said, come down and see Jesus and get in the streets, I'm like, sure, I'm going to go down there. So I'm watching this man, and I laugh at him, and I said, man, you're like Moses. You can split a room. When you go into any building with him, he splits a room like this. So fast, like so fast. I've never seen anybody split a room. You either get him or you don't, and he attracts the ones that get him and he repels the ones that don't. So you either see the goodness and you see through all the craziness, look at all these really smart, powerful, mathematical, like Einstein and all these, Tesla had to go around a building. If you really study him, he went down, he had to go, there was a whole ritual that he had to do before he would even walk into his building. But look at all the stuff that he did, so don't count out those ones that look crazy. And there are people that are out here testing us to see what our hearts are going to be. And so the new leaders of the new world, the new earth, are going to not be assholes. They can't have them being assholes. Otherwise, we keep doing what we're already doing. So yes, there are people in place. So like I saw, when we go into a room together, it's just like, wow, splits it so fast. And then, with me, I can go into a room and read the energy and be like, okay, this one, I can see their heart. I can see their heart. Like I can read, it takes a long time to do it. But with those kind of people, it just, it's so fast. It's so fast. You really pick out the ones that have the pure hearts real quickly. So those pure ones are going to be the ones showing us how to heal, right? Showing us how to be a kid and going back to loving people. Like, any kid you walk up to, unless they've been trained to be fearful of everything. They're gonna love anyone. They're not gonna judge you for what you look like. They're not gonna care if you how much money you have in the bank. They're not gonna care how big your boat is. They're not gonna care. They're just gonna love you for who you are. And so that's what they're looking for. Those ones with the pure hearts. I mean, this is why I've been posting recently. I met through church, like I found him in church, but Eddie, I've been posting a lot about him, and I've been studying Eddie and studying him, and people think, oh, you're just doing so much for Eddie. No, that's not what's going on here. This 24, I think he's 24, year old kid is teaching me more than I could ever about Jesus. I tell him every day, I'm like, Eddie, I said, I'm walking with Jesus today. I feel like I'm walking with Jesus today. He has taught me, and if you meet him, he is such a light, and everybody loves him. I mean, and this is what it means to walk with Jesus, because he is like a kid in a man's body, and that is how we're supposed to be, because he does not see race. He does not see religion. He does not see if you're rich. He does not see if you're poor. He sees you for who you are. He treats everyone the same. He doesn't he doesn't gossip. Like, he loves everyone. He loves absolutely everyone, just like a kid would. That's why they say we have to go back to being like children, because we don't see any of that. When you come in, you fall into this matrixy trap of shit. They teach you to judge everyone by their social status, whether they're rich or not, whether they're, drug dealer or sinner. This is why Jesus hung out with the sinners, because they were pure. They had nothing to lose. So everything that they put out there was just, this is what you are. That's why you find a homeless person who has lost everything, and they're just their pure, authentic self, and they don't have anything to prove. They don't have anything to lose. Their ego has been just crushed, so that they're like, this is what you get, this is who I am. I'm not putting in I'm not going to hide behind a big house or, a nice job or this. I'm not, they don't have any labels on them. They're just who they are. This is why you find Jesus in the streets, where we've got all these people that are hiding behind all of these labels, and they're not able to step in to really be who they are, and, so that's why Eddie is just like, he's a freaking genius. He's freaking Jesus, and I just love him, and I see how he works with people, and I'm like, damn, I took him to see my family, who's not been liking me right now, right? Because they do like that I'm doing this, and which I am really owning that right now, because I see how since I've been at this house, I've really had some humbling here. So this has been awesome. But so they haven't been really wanting to talk to me. So when we went there and I had to get some stuff from my house, I told him, I said, Eddie, they're really mad at me. I said, if my daughter's not very nice to you, or, if they just are kind of like not talking to you, it's towards me. It's not for you. And he's like, you really think they will be mad at you? Man, I'm like, no, it's not at you, it's at me. But he's just like, okay. And my daughter, when she got out of the truck, I could feel already the disconnect. I could see him and her and my husband talking, like, how are we gonna act toward her or whatever. And so she got her stuff, and then she started walking as far away from she could around, the buggy that we had there. And I'm watching her with the energy between us, and I'm thinking, oh God, here we go, And he said one sentence, and her eyes perked up, and she gravitated to him. And I'm like, oh, what is happening here? What is happening here? And she came over and started talking to him, and it was just like a light bulb went off. And I could see her face light up. I could see, and then I seen them interacting together, and I'm like, oh, these are the healers. When you're walking in your true self, if you can, just be the genuinely kind, people recognize that. That's why I don't really care if I'm making a mistake here or whatever, because when you're walking in your true self, people are going to look past that. And the people that don't, then you're going to see them, and then you're going to be like, I don't think I even want to deal with them, So Eddie is not, I'm not blessing Eddie here. Well, maybe I am. I think we're blessing each other, but you know what I mean? So when you're walking in your true self, who you are here to be without any fear of how people think of you, what you look like, if you're not, not thinking that you're not good enough, not worried about, what everybody, how people see you, when you're just able to release that, and they say it, surrender, and just be like, this is how I am. Even if people think I'm weird, everybody's different. Like, how boring would it be if everybody was how they say we should be, like professionals, or, wealthy, or this, like, I successful. Like, how boring would a life be if it would be like that one movie where everybody was the same. It was like a black and white movie. I don't remember. Everybody just was the same. It'd be so freaking boring, So when you're able to look at somebody like my friend Matt Maddox, who's doing all the crazy shit, and half the time I'm thinking, is he doing that on purpose, or is it like, just who he is? So I'm studying him too. But anyway, I always tell him, I'm like, I have to try to decipher the 3D mathematics, between the 33-dimensional mathematics. So anyway, it's just a joke. But anyway, yeah, it's hard. It's hard because there are people out here that are really testing us. God's testing. If you don't think God's putting us, everything is God test here. So he's testing hearts. And I go back to that statement with the truther said, and I'm like, good Lord. But I just look at everybody now, and I see all their quirkiness, all their crap, all their weirdness. And when you truly look at people like this now, instead of like, oh, they're a bitch, or they're, I've heard people say they're white trash, or they're, just awful things that we call each other, when people say this, when I hear people start talking badly, and it's almost like nails on a chalkboard. I'm like, stop, stop saying bad things about people, because I can't take it. Because you don't start seeing people like that. You either, you love them because they've went through so many trials and tribulations in their life, and yeah, they are broken, but then you see that, you look at them like a little kid going through all that, and they still are standing, and you just get such a different perspective on everyone that you run into. Like, just people that talk to you and start telling you about their traumas, you're thinking, wow, when I was going around the homeless, I went from feeling sorry for them to looking at them like, holy shit, look how strong that they are. Look what they have overcome. Look what they have accomplished. So, my whole perception of that changed with people. I don't look if they're doing weird crap. And this is why I resonate with Matt Mattis. He's walking around all the time with flags and shoving them in people's faces. He's like doing all this spinny stuff with his staff and stuff. And I'm like, but it's funny because that's his true self. That's how he is. It's just being his weird self, And I think to myself, I'm like, when my husband loved me the most, I was so annoying. I was so annoying. I would like hold my finger right here and be like, how is this? How do you know? Are you annoyed? Are you annoyed by me? Are you annoyed? How about this? How about this? Are you annoyed by me? And then for a while I would, he didn't really, his love language was not touch. So I would go around in public with my hand on his butt all the time, be like, does this bother you? Does this bother you? How about this? How about this? Does this bother you? And I'm thinking, so when I see Matt do it, I'm like, oh dear God, I did the same thing to my husband. No wonder he was annoyed with me. So it makes me laugh. But then when you can observe the observer, when you can like get a higher perspective and then look at yourself and see how you've acted and then how you interact with others. Oh my gosh. It's so fun. It's humbling because you're like, dear God, I didn't do that. But it gives you such a different perspective on everything. And then you're able to love yourself with all the quirkiness, all the things that you hate about yourself. When people do humble you, you're like, oh God, whatever, that's me. Like you if you don't like something about yourself, then you change it, then you try to do better the next day, but it's, you start to see, you get out of that victim mode too. You just see things differently, and then you can't go back to seeing it the way you did because you're healing, and it's a beautiful thing. So that is what I feel like it is to be Jesus, is to find him, to know him. And then when you are that, that's why the Christian or the spiritual community says you have to find Jesus within first, and then when you do, you radiate that out into the world, and people see that and they're like, I want that, you know. And some days I can, and some days I can, and then some days, you know, especially with all this energy hitting us, I'm like, I just want to lay in bed and not even talk to anyone. And then when you do that, people want that, so then they suck that energy out of you too, and then you have to learn how to protect your energy. So then you have to learn how to create boundaries and with people too, so that you don't fall back into your old patterns, right? So it's such a intricate thing, but yeah, so those are my thoughts today. I had a lot of downloads come in this morning, and I just wanted to share them with you. But anyway, that is what I think it is to find Jesus. So have a great day.